We have some breaking news as Shams has dropped a bombshell report on Giannis Antetokounmpo and his future in Milwaukee. And following an absolutely brutal loss against the Indiana Pacers to end the Milwaukee Bucks season, we have some big updates as it pertains to not only the Milwaukee Bucks, but Giannis Antetokounmpo and his future in Milwaukee. We're going to break that down and discuss what this means going forward as something big is brewing, and it's not what Bucks fans want to hear. Stay tuned for all that in this episode, folks. Before we get into it, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Bucks content. Your guys' support has been unbelievable. If you want to help us towards our goal, we also just hit 3,000 subscribers. If you want to help us towards our goal, our big goal of course, 4,000 subscribers now, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys again for your continued support. Ladies and gentlemen, a ton to go over today, and obviously, the Bucks lost in devastating fashion. There's no doubt about it. It was a horrible, game. I mean, one of the worst. Doc Rivers. There's so many videos coming for you all, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But Shams dropped a bombshell report today, and we're going to dive into, of course, some of the comments from Giannis as well as it pertains to if he can win with the Bucks and all these different things. But you can see this here. The Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis Antetokounmpo are scheduled to meet after the season to discuss both his future and the future plans for the team. Now, this is going to create huge headlines. There's going to be, like you just mentioned there, a bunch of different reports about him leaving Milwaukee, and we'll be covering them, unfortunately, because, of course, the news now is going to be surrounding Giannis and if he's going to be able to, remain in Milwaukee. However, I don't think this report necessarily means that they are going to trade him. However, they need to have a serious conversation. And once the season ends, meaning once the playoffs end, John Horst and Milwaukee and the ownership, John Horst is now recently extended. So he can play the long game kind of. But you have a Giannis Antetokounmpo, star now that his co-star has a torn Achilles. He's going to be out all 2026, we assume, or most of it. You don't have any of your first-round picks. You don't have your much of a supporting cast here. And the unfortunate reality is, it seems that Giannis wants to stay in Milwaukee, and I think that's probably still the most likely outcome. But if you're John Horst and you're the front office and you have to do what's best for this team, there is a serious case, and I hate to say it, to be made about trading Giannis Antetokounmpo for picks for a young player and just completely retool. It's unfortunate, and I think that's what this conversation is going to be about. We know Giannis wants to win, and yes, he wants to stay in Milwaukee. He's extremely loyal to Milwaukee, and he said that. But at the end of the day, this team does not have a clear path to winning right now. There is no path whatsoever. Assuming Dame is out for most of next year, you barely have a playoff team with the way that this team is. And obviously, Giannis is going to bring you to, a playoff berth. But despite bringing you to a playoff, berth, you're still going to have to make a run at it. And if you can't do that with Kevin Porter Jr. as your second best player behind Damian Lillard, Gary Trent Jr. through the turnover that cost him their season. He's a free agent. You have a bunch of guys. Brook Lopez is favorited to go to the Milwaukee Bucks or the Los Angeles Lakers from the Bucks. There's so many different things here that are cause for concern. And it makes sense that they are, of course, going to be working on his future. But at the same time, it's not necessarily a cause for concern because he said over and over again that he wants to remain in Milwaukee. You can see this here from Kevin O'Connor, a reporter. 30, 20, and 13 for Giannis, still playing at an MVP level, and it's all falling apart around him. No promising young teammates, no rights to first until 2031, a washed-up head coach, an aging roster, and co-star teammate with the torn Achilles. This offseason is a fork in the road, and that's the unfortunate reality. And I could sit here and say, don't trade Giannis, keep him. You shouldn't even entertain trading Giannis Antetokounmpo because you have to try to build around him. The problem is you don't really, besides free agency where you got to make cap room, you don't really have room to, wiggle here at all. You gave up your assets for, 5 seconds for Jake Crowder, your first for Damian Lillard, all these different things. Kyle Kuzma. Unless Kuzma takes some co-star leap, which I don't think is going to happen, you might be better off trading Giannis Antetokounmpo and just getting as many resources back as you can. Whether that's 4 first-round picks and a great young player like a Scotty Barnes and all their first. Is that something that's going to be considered? Probably. We're going to be covering all these different, reports on the channel because there's going to be a ton of trade talks. But at the end of the day, it is going to be a very uncomfortable offseason. And I don't want to, sit out there and kind of put into the world, Giannis. We hear every single year, we've heard Giannis leaving rumors. Every single year, even after he signs, earlier in the season, this past offseason. But the problem is now, it is extremely, the Bucks don't have a clear path. I have no idea what they're going to do as it pertains to, improving this team. But there's also this. Just a reminder, the front office meets him at the end of the year, just like the players and staff. He isn't going anywhere. While speaking to Greek reporters, and this is, of course, before, Antetokounmpo shot down the notion that he would request a trade from the Bucks. I don't think that I would ever text and ask for a trade. I'm not this kind of guy. They would have to kick me out. And, this is kind of blowing up a little bit. All Bucks fans saying he's not going to leave. I understand the premise, but the problem is if John Horst now comes up and says, hey, it's probably best for this team if we consider moving you. That's not him requesting a trade. That would just be doing what's best for the team at this point. And I'm not saying that's what I think is best for the team. What's best for the team is building around Giannis Antetokounmpo and figuring out a way to get some free agents, get some veteran minimums, and just try. And then hopefully Dame comes back in 2026 or towards the tail end of this season for a postseason run. You run it back again. But there has to be something to be said about the fact that I don't think it's ever a good idea to trade a future Hall of Famer, right? It's never a good idea in their prime. But the Bucks are in such a unique spot where they don't have any of their first till 2031. You can't make a splash for Kevin Durant or something crazy. You don't have a ton of options here, and that's one of the things. Even though this came out today, Giannis reportedly deeply respects Dame, remains happy with the Bucks, and I don't think he's going to request a trade. It's more so, and I don't even think they're going to trade him necessarily, but it's more so John Horst is going to be put into a decision now in a position to where his future with Milwaukee is locked in. He doesn't have to worry about his job. So is he going to be more or less likely to trade Giannis and just blow it up? Probably less likely, but at the same time, if he's not worried about his future, this team has no future right now. They gave up their only semi-young, exciting prospect in A.J. Johnson. You have A.J. Green. You have, are you going to re-sign Kevin Porter Jr.? You're going to re-sign Gary Trent Jr., Kyle Kuzma. You gave up a first for in Chris Middleton. It's really bad. And it is just a devastating situation for the Milwaukee Bucks. You see this here, and if he thinks he can still win with the Bucks, this was yesterday after the game. I'm not going to do this. I don't know. I wish I was still competing, and I'm headed back to Milwaukee. I don't know. So, and it's the truth answer. Like it's the honest truth here. No one, I don't know if Giannis can win with Milwaukee in the next couple of years. And this is the prime of his career. So does he want to waste his prime? Do the Bucks want to, if they're going to trade him, this would technically be the time to do it. He's coming off of an MVP season. He's the best player in the world. What do you do, right? What do you do? And that's the big question mark going forward. And we think back to the Doc Rivers thing where he said, I'm very confident in the series. He's done for. I can't imagine they're going to bring him back. Giannis also calls out the Pacers a little bit. I believe in being humble in victory. I've won a championship. They haven't. Talking about the Pacers. That was an interesting series. They should have won the last game. They should have been sending it back to Milwaukee for game 6. They should have won game 5. Don't even want to talk about it. Horrible. They're up by 7 points with 40-something seconds left and you lose. A classic Doc Rivers effort there. And we were talking about it all year. It was a disastrous season from the 2-8 start to all the way to whatever transpired in yesterday's game, all the way to where we are now. The Giannis Antetokounmpo rumors are going to continue to pick up. They're going to have a meeting about his future, and I'm very interested to see what's going to come out of that because this might be one of the craziest off seasons in a very long time. And hopefully Giannis doesn't leave, but I could see a real world where, John Horst is like, okay, what is the best plan for this team here? And it may not include Giannis. But let me know what your thoughts are. Maybe I'm being a little bit too pessimistic. I'm very interested to hear what you guys' thoughts are. Thank you guys for watching. And most importantly, stay tuned for all the content coming because the offseason is just beginning. Cheers.